What's up, everyone? Good morning and welcome to Shaw Locals Bears Insider Podcast. I am Kyle Nabors along with Sean Hammond, and here we are a little less than about 18 hours since the end of Bears Lions. The Bears lose out one 31-30. Some positives, some negatives. A little different feel, Sean, than after that Dolphins loss. I hate the term moral victory, and I don't want to use it too much today. But while last week I feel like everyone had the Justin Fields game and was excited about it, there's certainly that still today. But a little different tenor, I guess, with the loss to Detroit yesterday.
Well, yeah, Kyle, you're right. And good morning. Happy Monday, everybody. Thanks for joining us. You know, there's that good feeling when Justin Fields is playing well, and obviously he's been playing well the last couple of weeks. But at the same time, the losses do start to wear on you. We're talking about 3 straight games where he played well, but the Bears couldn't win. They didn't get the outcome that they wanted, and Justin himself says that he doesn't care about the stats and the records. It's all about winning. And at the end of the day, that's kind of what matters in the NFL. And so, yeah, this one stings, I think, a lot more than that Dolphins game. But at the same time, you got Justin Fields running all over the football field. He came 35-ish yards short of his record that he just set last week for the single game quarterback rushing record. Obviously there was another long run, 67-yard touchdown at a key moment. I mean, that was just an epic play from him when you knew the Bears needed to make a play. And I don't know about you, Kyle, but when I zero in on that final play of the game, or not the final play, but what was essentially the final play where Justin was sacked, he's making one guy miss, he's making 2 guys miss, and for the first time maybe ever, you have that feeling in the back of your head about a Bears quarterback where you're like, this guy's gonna make a play. You just have that feeling. And it didn't work out. The third guy finally got to him and sacked him. But it's nice to actually have that belief when you're watching a dude play that he's gonna make a play at a key moment.
Yeah, it's definitely, you get that feeling with Justin Fields, and you're right. Like, you don't see that very often, or it's been very, very rare that you've had that feeling as a Bears fan or watching the Bears play in general. It's I don't know. I see Rick in it down here. I'm gonna pop that up there. It just says I'm pissed. And it's I don't know how, like, what to say to Bears fans really this morning, because yeah, like it's all the positives that you talk about it, and sure, long term, like, the Bears are in so much better position going into 2023 than I think most of us felt a month ago. But yeah, I mean, like, that's a game yesterday against a division rival where, I mean, you're up 28-14 in the fourth quarter. That you want to win that game, but like at the end of the day, like, this defense, like, how many guys on this defense do you expect to be a part of this core over the next couple of years when they're ready to contend? How many of these wide receivers do you really think are going to make impacts? Like, the guys that you want to see making plays are the guys that are making plays for the Bears for the most part right now, which is what you want to see in a development year, Sean.
Yeah, definitely. I think the biggest disappointment yesterday might have been Jalen Johnson. Irregardless of the penalties, obviously those hurt, and it's fair to question, especially that one on the Jack Sanborn interception. But I don't think that was his best game. I think he struggled a little bit here and there in coverage, and he wasn't making the plays that you want out of your number one cornerback. But you're right. I mean, I thought Braxton Jones played pretty well at the left tackle spot. There's a bunch of young guys. Obviously, Jack Sanborn, who I just mentioned. I mean, that was a great game from him. He had 2 sacks, led the team in tackles. Obviously it's hard when you're coming in and replacing a guy like Roquan Smith and you throw this undrafted rookie into the lineup. But he played. I thought he looked a lot more comfortable this week as opposed to a week ago in his first career start.
I want to get the propers out of the way quick, Sean, and then we'll get into that a little bit more. But if you're not following us on YouTube, or if you don't like us on YouTube yet, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, helps everyone find the show. Follow us on Twitter at Bears_Insider, at Sean_Hammond, at Kyle Nabors. And of course, you can find all of our work at shawlocal.com. All of our coverage from yesterday up there right now. We'll have coverage from Hallis Hall this afternoon as Matt Eberflus meets the media. Expecting we'll hear from Jalen Johnson today, Sean. We didn't hear from him yesterday. And, I know we want to talk about the positives, but I think let's set the table a little bit here, right? Because you look at that game, as I said, they were up 28-14. 28-14 with about 10 minutes left in that game. And Jack Sanborn, as you mentioned, had a really good game, gets that interception, but it's wiped out on the penalty, the hands to the face penalty on Jalen Johnson. And I guess let's start there because, I mean, you hate that the game swung on what was frankly a blown call by the officiating. And listen, I mean, like there were plenty of other opportunities. Like even after that, that leads to the DeAndre Swift touchdown. The Bears are still up 7 points. Even after the pick six, like the Bears are still tied. There are opportunities to win that game. But like there's no doubt that call on Jalen Johnson impacted the outcome of the game.
Yeah, you got a 14-point lead in that situation. I think it was maybe about 11, 12 minutes left in the game. A turnover there, and you're at least eating up 3 more minutes of the clock and making it really hard for the Lions to come back, whether you score or not. And you watch that play, the play right before that, Jalen got called for the same thing, hands to the face. That one was fair. Going back and watching that this morning, he had his hands in the guy's helmet, and that's fine, whatever. The next play, I mean, he touched the guy in the chest, and I don't want to accuse a dude of flopping, but the guy falls down and lays on the ground for the entirety of the play. I'm like, you're an NFL, you're an NFL football player. A dude puts his hands in your chest, and that's what's happening. Like I don't know. I think that might have been a good sell job there.
Well, that's what drives me insane a little bit too, is because that was clearly a reaction of an official who saw a player on the ground and
absolutely
thought he saw something. And I get it. Like when you look at the replay, like his hands go up like that, and with the way the receiver drops to the ground, it would be easy to mistake it. But like, that's where we talk about like the need for a sky judge in the NFL, and like those guys huddling up and making sure they get things right, because that is something that could easily be overturned by a sky judge looking at that.
And if you're the Bears, it sucks too, because I mean, Jared Goff threw an awful pass into triple coverage. He had no business throwing that ball. I don't know if he even saw Jack Sanborn, and it was an easy pick for Jack, and he was able to grab that thing and bring it out a couple yards. And then, it's really hard for a defense to regroup after a situation like that. And DeAndre Swift ran right up the left side of the line and got an easy touchdown. And it's hard to get yourself in the right mindset, but the Bears got to flip that switch in that situation, because that's still you're in the red zone. That's a really key spot. And I know it's hard to do that after a bad call, but it just didn't, that whole sequence of events really swung that game. And you felt that momentum, you felt in the stadium, you felt the nerves creeping in a little bit for Bears fans.
Yeah. And even after that, as I said, you're still up 28-21. If you're able to put together a good drive there, maybe you come away, either you grind down the clock, you put 3 more points on the board, something like that, and the game is pretty much out of reach. But you have a play or several plays there. The Bears get the ball back, and obviously the Justin Fields pick six is bad, and he said that after the game. I mean, we'll definitely get into that, but like quickly, it gets lost in the shuffle there. But like the Bears had their worst day penalty wise yesterday on the season, and before the Justin Fields pick six, I believe the play before, Ryan Griffin was whistled for a holding penalty that wiped out a pretty good game by Khalil Herbert. And like the pick six is bad on Justin Fields' part. but like the Bears also put themselves in positions yesterday to make mistakes at times.
Yeah, they did, and that's one of them. That one against Ryan Griffin, obviously that hurt. You look at earlier in the game too. I mean, their first possession of the game, the Bears probably should have gone down and scored a touchdown, but the holding penalties, sets them back. They wind up setting for a Kairos, settling for a Cairo Santos field goal. And yeah, it was really throughout the game they were getting penalized left and right. It felt like, and it's hard to win football games when you're doing that. It's hard to sustain drives when you're doing that, and it set them back, and obviously wound up resulting in that pick six from Justin, which was just a ball that he should not have thrown, or at least just throw it at the guy's feet for an incompletion, whatever. He floated that ball, and I know he's under pressure, but he said it himself after the game that can't happen. He said he promised that will never happen again, which is good for him. That's great. We'll have to see. But yeah, you can't throw that pick six in that situation. That's when things really went from bad to worse.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that the pick six happens in terms of it takes away, or it causes us here. We're 10 minutes into and we're talking about this. And otherwise, what would have been, if that doesn't happen, we're probably talking about the best game of the season for the Bears passing game. And you really saw that. You look at the end of the second quarter and the beginning of the third quarter, those drives there, like Justin Fields was driving the ball, looked really good. I believe they only had like 50 yards passing at halftime, or 65, somewhere in that range. Like it wasn't a lot, but like it felt like they were being efficient in the passing game. They really came out strong in the second half. Like Justin Fields was making quick decisions. Like it felt like things were making the proper progression. And I guess, to bring it back to the positive side there, I think at the end of the day, like that's going to weigh more than that pick six. Like I think he's showing the ability, like, and that's the other thing too. Like all good quarterbacks, like even the best quarterbacks in football are going to make really dumb decisions. Like it just happens sometimes.
Did you see that Josh Allen interception against the Jets last week? Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. Same thing. Just threw it right to the guy.
Josh Allen made a terrible decision yesterday against Minnesota. Threw a pick. I believe it was in overtime. I
I haven't gotten to see the clips on that. I saw I saw the score, and I saw that. Oh my gosh, that Justin Jefferson catch! But
so it was, that game was in overtime. Like as we were wrapping up, the Bears game had wrapped up, and like we were getting stuff online, so I was only like half paying attention. But he threw a really bad pick in that game. That cost them.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, it was in the end zone if I remember, just short of the end zone. So what I'm trying to say is like, yeah, it's a bad play in the scheme of things, but like those plays are going to happen. But overall, like Justin Fields, I mark up near the top here as we try and start to jump into some of these comments and stuff. Like on the plus side, the Bears finally have a quarterback. Yeah, Sean, like it's just another data point, and where I'm feeling more and more confident in Justin Fields being the solution for the Bears long term.
Yeah, like you said, that pick six was a terrible throw. Shouldn't have happened. But you look at some of these throws in this game, and there's a lot to be excited about. I pinpointed, there was on Twitter, I sent some screenshots out from the completion to Dante Pettis in the first quarter, where he was just running back and forth through the pocket, and somehow it was largely a forgettable play. It was a 9-yard gain on first down in the first quarter, but it was just a ridiculous throw. I don't know how he got that off. And then two, you see the way that the scheme and that Justin's running ability is opening things up for them. Particularly when you look at the first Kmet touchdown, Justin takes the ball to his right, looks like he's going to run. Cole Kmet fakes like he's going to run block. And the defensive back bites on it and gets past him to go to Justin, and it leaves Cole Kmet wide open. Justin threw a great ball where it was a little bit high, but it was right in that spot where only Cole could catch it. Comes down with it. I mean, those were two really impressive throws, I thought, from Justin, and also just the way that Justin's running threat is affecting defenses, and you can see that now that we have several games of Justin really attacking on the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just the way the confidence, the way that the Bears are running their offense, the way Justin Fields is operating the offense, everything just it looks right, Sean. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it feels like they know, you're not worried about them being incompetent. They're at least doing the right things. And sure, they might have some penalties that set them backwards at times. Certainly yesterday they did. But you can feel pretty confident that this Bears offense is going to move the football. And they really did that yesterday. Outside of when those penalties hurt or when the dumb interception happens, they did a pretty good job of putting up points. And I guess that's what makes it so hard to swallow a third week in a row where, they've scored 29, 32, 30 points yesterday, and they haven't won any of those games.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, like you want to see the next step, right? You do want to see them find a way to win a game against. I mean, like I said, a loss to Miami is not the end of the world. Like Miami's going places, we think, but like you should be able to beat this Detroit team at home. But overall, I don't know. It's hard to get too upset, I guess.
here's the thing. You're right. I mean, at a certain point, they're going to have to win a game in the fourth quarter. They're going to have to. Justin's going to have to lead that game-winning drive. We saw they had a chance to do it against Minnesota. They had a chance to do it against Washington. They had 2 chances in the fourth quarter against Miami, and then of course they had that. They had another chance yesterday, and they could not get that game-winning touchdown when it mattered most. And at a certain point, you're going to need to, you want to see your franchise quarterback do that. I think it's a combination of things. I think obviously the pressure gets so high in those moments. I do think that defenses are going to force Justin to have to throw the football in those situations. It's going to be a little bit harder to break off for a 60-yard run when the teams are guarding for that, because they know that's your most dangerous part of your game.
Yeah. At some point, the Bears are going to have to get a little more vertical still, right? And like that comes with, I guess I was a little surprised yesterday. I expected to see a higher usage rate or a more of an effort to get the ball in Chase Claypool's hand. Particularly like we saw him have 6 targets on just about a 35% snap rate in his first game. I anticipated that snap rate going up significantly in that second game. That didn't really happen, which surprised me.
Well, yeah, his snap rate went down in his second week. He played a fewer percentage of snaps of offensive snaps than he did the week before, and I would definitely say that is a surprise. I know it's hard to take this crash course in a new offense. Maybe we shouldn't have been expecting him to play more snaps this quickly because he's really only been here 10 days. But yeah, I was looking for that number to be a little bit higher, and you're right. The targets weren't there either.
There's someone in the chat currently named Ryan Poles, who I believe obviously is not Ryan Poles. Whoever it is, though, I believe it's a Bears fan. I thought it was
maybe he is, Kyle.
Yeah, maybe it is. I thought he asked why I blocked him earlier because he had a different screen name. I can't remember what that was either, but I thought it was Don Burr. So who is a Lions troll who likes to jump in here. So Mr. Ryan Poles, whoever you are, as long as you're not obnoxious, I don't think you're Don Burr. You'll be good, man. Want to jump into some of the comments and questions up here. I'm going to go back towards the top, Sean. Mark said, and I'm just going to ask him to follow up here. I have a question. Do you think Ryan Poles is up for this rebuild? I have my doubts. Mark, follow up. Let me know why you feel that way, because I'll be honest, I'm not really sure why you feel that way right now, but let us know. We'll discuss it. Want to go to Rick, said, what gives you hope that Poles can evaluate wide receivers? Valus, Pringle, Pettis, Harry, St. Brown have all been flops so far. I did not include Claypool because he's only been here for 2 games so far. Sean, what do you think?
Well, the reason for optimism is that they brought in Claypool because some of those other guys were flops. I think Ryan Poles is at least. I think that shows that he's willing to admit when there's been a mistake made and try to find the next answer. Because that's clearly what Claypool is doing. What bringing in Chase Claypool does for your team. He essentially said, okay, we're not getting the job done. We need another receiver. Let's see what's out there and what we can get now. at the trade deadline. So I think that's reason for optimism. I mean, the best way to find a guy is to throw a lot of darts at the board. Obviously you want to go draft your Justin Jefferson, but there's only so many of those guys. I think that they're going to keep trying at this, and it's way too soon to know about Claypool. Obviously N'Keal Harry has been a little bit underwhelming so far in his first couple of games, and obviously he didn't play yesterday, so that wasn't a really good sign for where that's going. But I think we got to give it a little bit more time on Claypool, and just see what sort of chemistry Justin can get with some of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, so Velus being inactive yesterday wasn't a surprise after he was inactive the week before. I was surprised to see N'Keal Harry inactive though. Like he had, I don't want to say showing something because the Bears passing game had been so kind of hit or miss until recently that it was hard to say that. But like as a former first round pick that you've traded for, who had at least shown a little bit in his limited time, I was surprised to see him inactive. But if he's not, if they had determined like guys like Dante Pettis and Equinemius St. Brown have a much better are bigger contributors on special teams and are better pass or run blockers, then that makes sense. But just feels a little bit odd because your upside with Equinemius St. Brown and Dante Pettis is obviously capped. A guy like N'Keal Harry does seem to have a higher ceiling, but I guess that's where I'm at.
I mean, I think it came down to Pettis as your punt return guy, and you have to have a punt returner in there. So I don't think they were going to make him inactive, and somebody was going to be the odd man out. I certainly still think they believe in N'Keal Harry and they believe in Velus Jones, and they want to see more out of those guys, but they're also trying to win football games right now. I thought that Byron Pringle was a little bit disappointing yesterday. I mean, he didn't really do anything except get a penalty called against him. The Bears, he's a weird situation because you haven't gotten to see him all that much in the games. He's missed a lot of time now. He missed 4 games with the injury, and he missed a lot of time in training camp. They haven't really had the chance to get on the same page. And I don't know how long the Bears are going to give that, because you want to see what he is. You paid all this money, and not all this money, but as far as what you paid for wide receivers, he's the one you gave the most money, and you targeted him and wanted him. So I think the Bears are going to give this a chance to see what develops, but I certainly don't think that they're going to give up on N'Keal Harry anytime soon.
Yeah, and I'm not willing to say like Ryan Poles. Ryan Poles is unable to execute a rebuild based on what we knew were a bunch of lottery tickets. Now, it's interesting. I want to see, like, I want to ask Mark like a follow up. Like, Mark, were you on board with this idea of this being a rebuild year, like, or were you one of them? Like I was pretty critical all off season about the Bears and the way, or Ryan Poles, in terms of how they built this roster and not putting enough around Justin Fields. But like, I don't think you can make that switch now. So what I'm asking Mark is like, did you feel that way going into this? Because if not, then I don't think you should be making that switch now. Like the Bears are executing the plan that Ryan Poles wanted to put in place. Now you can have your critiques of if you think that was the correct plan. I certainly have my critiques on that, but like, I don't think you should be changing your feelings on Ryan Poles based on what you're seeing on the field the last month or so.
No, it was in my book. When any team hires a new GM, it's really either you're going to tear this thing down and rebuild and do it the right way, or you're going to try to win right now. And I give Poles props for picking a plan and sticking to it. And even if that's been a little bit painful this season, that's what you need to do when you're in that position, because he's looking at the salary cap space. He's looking at the draft picks that were available and saying, what can I do to put this team in position a couple of years from now? And not every GM is going to take that same approach based on the situation, based on the quarterback's age and contract and all that stuff. But I give him props for picking a lane and staying in it.
Shaw Locals Bears Insider podcast is sponsored by Marengo Guns. Always buying, always paying top dollar for your guns, ammos, and military items. Come see the experts at Marengo Guns. Open 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. 7 days a week. Alan Dunlap, a regular on the show, saying Kyle predicted 7 wins. Are you as confident after yesterday? Listen, I didn't predict 7 wins. I said there was a path to 7 wins. Based on the fact that the NFC stinks and that Justin Fields is playing much better. I didn't say they were going to get there, but like yesterday was a perfect example of like just how condensed and mediocre the NFL and the NFC in particular can be. Like there's not a lot of separation between these teams. And yeah, but obviously, no. Yesterday was a game they had to win to get to 7 wins, or at least have themselves in position to get there.
It's going to be tough now.
Yeah, going to be tough, but it's just an example of what I was moreover. I think what I was trying to say is just the NFC it's really not good, guys. It's not. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, you got this Falcons game coming up, and I mean that's if your goal is 7 wins, that's essentially a must win if you're the Bears right now. And then you got rematches against the Lions and the Vikings, which are tough, probably toss-ups. I don't know. That Vikings team just keeps winning, Kyle. I don't know how they keep doing it, but they do. And yeah, I mean, the Eagles and Bills are on the schedule, Jets, Packers. It's tough from here on out.
There was a comment in here. I'm trying to find it here. It's great that we have so much now. I'm trying to go back up though.
Yeah, guys, keep coming.
Yeah, Timothy Wire. The next step in the development of a young team is figuring out how to win. It's also part of the development. Yeah, that is true. And you do worry at some point, like Justin Fields, Sean. I mean, you were in the locker room yesterday. Now, part of that was like he ended up getting some stitches in his ear, right?
Yeah,
but it was a while until you guys had a chance to talk with Justin. I know he sat at his locker for a long time. Again, he's a smart guy. He took the loss hard, but yeah, I mean, at some point you want to find a way for the Bears to win those games.
Yeah, and I think this is what I've learned about Justin, especially this year since the locker room has opened up. We didn't have that access last year to be in there and see how these guys are reacting after these games. Justin takes these losses hard, man. He's sitting there after the game at his locker, and he's kind of staring off into space. He's kind of checking his phone. I imagine he's watching some replays on his phone, and Luke Getsy will stop by, say a couple words. Andrew Janoko, the quarterback, will stop by, say a couple things. He'll talk to Mooney, and yeah, you can see it on his face that these losses, he's not okay with this, and this is really frustrating to him. And that's absolutely what you want in your quarterback. I mean, he knows that he's got to come through it with one of these fourth quarter drives. If they're going to win football games, the quarterback has to lead the offense to score at these key moments when you're down 3 points, down 6 points, whatever it may be. He's well aware of that, and I think he's approaching this the right way. I mean, he has done some amazing things on the football field, but I absolutely believe him when he says that he doesn't care. All he cares about is the wins and the losses. And the Bears obviously aren't picking up the wins at this point.
I had a phone conversation yesterday evening with Mike B, who now is in the chat, and had said, expressed this to me last night. For as much as we credited the coaches rightfully for the New England win, we should be crushing them for this loss. Bad play calling, bad player packages, bad penalties. That's coaching. He had said, and all they were looking for was Justin to bail them out yet again, and the mountain was too tall. So I know talking to Mike yesterday, he really felt they were conservative in the first half of that game yesterday. Sean, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I do think the penalties hurt them a lot more in that first half offensively. Obviously, the late penalties hurt for the defense, but you look at the snap counts, and we spent a few minutes just a moment ago talking about these receivers, and really Darnell Mooney is the only guy who's playing more than half the game, and you're still looking for that passing attack. If you're looking for that passing attack to open up a little bit, I mean, the Bears aren't really they're not putting these as many 3 receiver sets and certainly not as many 4 receiver sets out there on the field. And I think it's fair to criticize them for being a little bit conservative in these situations. You look at the way they basically ran the ball on 3rd down to set up that field goal. I can't remember. Was that the first drive of the game? That might have been the first drive. It was like 3rd and 14 or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's fair to criticize them for that. At the same time, and we haven't mentioned Cairo Santos' name yet, but at the same time, you got a kicker who's really good, and he's been an automatic 3 points this season. As I say that, of course, that missed extra point really hurt you, Kyle.
Yeah, it does. I want to go back to that 3rd and 14 draw call, because that was talking to Mike yesterday. He had brought that up as a situation where, like, as he said, and this might be a bit extreme, he was like, if you're going to run a draw in that situation where you're in field goal range, just take the knee. But like he said, he's like, okay, so you don't want to, the odds, you don't have a lot of plays in your playbook that are picking up a 3rd and 14, but what you can do there is use it as a teaching tool to Justin Fields. Say, okay, this is where we take our end zone shot. Put it out, put the ball high and on the outside shoulder. Put it at the back of the end zone. If you throw it out of bounds, you throw it out of bounds. We're taking the field goal either way. But at least give him a shot to make a play there and to come up with something big. And use it as a teaching tool. And I did think Mike made a good point there.
Yeah, I do think that's a good point. I mean, if you're talking about a Tom Brady or an Aaron Rodgers, that's absolutely what the offense is going to do in that situation. And maybe that's just a factor of the Bears not fully having that faith that Justin isn't going to make a bad throw in that situation. You're still dealing with a young quarterback, and yes, he's run the ball really, really well, but there's still room to grow in that passing game. And I understand them playing conservative and you're in field goal range, but you're right. I mean, why not take a shot at the first down, take a shot at the end zone in that situation?
Yeah, I think that is something, that as Matt Eberflus and Luke Getsy and the staff get more comfortable, hopefully you see them start, I guess what I'm saying is today at Hallis Hall, as they're going through that tape, I hope they're good enough as a staff that they realize that and realize that was a potential learning moment. Instead of just taking the 3 points, like in a season like this, there are times that it's okay to be aggressive and to use it in those and to take those chances. I thought yesterday was a chance of that. We got a lot going on here in terms of questions I want to get to, or comments. Going back up to Sam Rush said, I know there was a conversation about Velus Jones being a bust. So I want to hit on this. Velus is a rookie wide receiver. Geez, guys, which of the other wide receiver or other pick before him is balling out like a wide receiver NFL already? Actually, that was not the comment from Sam. I saw, but I wanted to say I'm just as frustrated with the mental mistakes that Velus has made, but let's give him time to get his confidence up and develop. And I think that's a good point from Sam, because like it is still a small sample size, and like we haven't seen Velus Jones use much in the offense yet, Sean.
No, he hasn't. He hasn't played more than about 20% of snaps in any one single game, and I think that's why the Bears have been okay with sidelining him the last 2 weeks. Is if he's not returning punts and he's not a big part of your offense, there's no point in giving him a jersey when you got to have somebody sit out. But at the same time, we don't get to see what they're doing in practice. We don't know how Velus is doing with the offense in practice, and that's probably our questions about that are we're never going to get a straight answer, at least publicly on the record. But yeah, I definitely think the Bears are going to keep working at it with Velus Jones, and I do think we're going to see him at some point this season. I don't think he's going to be inactive the rest of the year. I'd be surprised if they keep moving ahead with 7 receivers on the active roster long term. It's a lot, and you're only playing 5 on game day. I don't know that you need that many, but I also don't think they're willing to give up on anybody at this point. And so Velus is a rookie. He's learning his first NFL offense. He hasn't had that much experience, that many touches with the ball in his hand on game day. And yeah, he's made a few mistakes, particularly on special teams, but he just needs more time out there.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly understand the frustration, and it's not trending in the direction that you would like it to be trending after 10 weeks. But I'm not ready to say that Velus Jones is a bust. I expect that he's going to get a couple more shots before we can really start to worry about him.
And look, he's got really, really exciting speed. He can really move and fly, and you just got to hold on to the football. I mean, that was the problem with those punt returns that he fumbled is he's trying to move before he's really got the ball secured, and that's just that's just jumping one step ahead, one step too soon, and I think that's a thing that you can certainly coach him on and get him in the right mindset there.
I want to jump back up to a question from Mark in a second, but first I saw this pop in. I wanted to address it. Twin 129. The refs took this game away from the Bears once again. The Bears can't put the game in the refs' hand. As you can see, we'll get screwed every time. Okay, so two things. I get first off, I understand that the Bears have had some bad breaks with the officiating the last couple of weeks, but there are two things I want to say to that. One, like even after the terrible call against Jalen Johnson, like the Bears were still winning. They still had a 28-21 lead. Justin Fields still threw a terrible pick. That's one part of it.
They still let DeAndre Swift run right up the middle.
Yeah. And the second part of that is, like there were a couple really bad calls against the Bears yesterday. And it feels really bad in the moment. But there are bad calls by officials in every single NFL game, every single week of the season, every single year. Like they're humans, they just happen. Now we notice them because that's the game that we're tending to watch at that time. But like if you go back and watch a full game for pretty much every single game, you're going to find a couple calls that were bad that did have an impact. I'm not trying to say like, yeah, it was bad and that definitely impacted the outcome of the game yesterday. But all I'm trying to say is keep it in perspective a little bit, Twin.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. I know you can be upset, and certainly in the hours after the game, it's upsetting. But you can't let that be the. It's not the reason why you lose the game, and you can't let it be. And at the same point in time, you missed an extra point, or that game would be tied and going to overtime. And obviously, there's numerous plays and examples that you can point out where the Bears had a chance to make a play and didn't, or where the defense had the chance to make a stop and couldn't.
There was something in here. Oh yeah, I wanted to go back up to Mark. Does anyone think that the Bears will be a playoff team next year? Sean, I'll start with you.
Oh man, it's just so premature to even say. I don't know. I think they're going to be in position to battle for a playoff spot. I think they're going to make some additions. They have all that free agency space. They have their draft picks. Certainly they're in games right now. This team just has to learn how to win. And it has to learn how to win, and it needs a couple more pieces on that defensive line and at various spots, maybe another tackle, but they have the tools to address these deficiencies. And I don't see any reason why this team couldn't be fighting for a wild card spot, if not the division. I mean, we know how the NFL is. Teams are up and down from year to year. It's really hard to compare year to year. But let's just say the Vikings are still a really good football team next year. You don't know what the Packers are going to look like. Who knows what Aaron Rodgers is going to want or what they're going to do to try to help him out there. And I don't see any reason why they couldn't be, the second best team in this division, if not the best.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of stuff has to happen. Like it's so premature to say.
Yeah. Well, so the defense has to get a lot better, right?
Yeah.
That's very clear. Like they're going to have to add quite a bit. They need to get better at wide receiver. They got to get better along the offensive line. But as you were saying, NFL teams, like the blob is just that. Like it's there's a lot of mediocre, and honestly, having a quarterback papers over a lot of this. And I'm pretty confident at this point that the Bears have found their quarterback. I'm not saying that he's going to be this elite guy like Patrick Mahomes or top tier guy yet. I'm not ready to make that determination, but I'm pretty confident the Bears have a quarterback that can get them to the playoffs and make those type of plays. So that immediately takes them into that conversation. Like that accelerates your timeline to where you can start having these conversations. So yeah, there's still a lot that has to happen. But Mark, I think no matter what, as long as Justin Fields is going into next season healthy, I think your expectation should be that the Bears should be in position next December that they're playing competitive game with a playoff spot on the line.
Yeah, look, if they just, if they keep doing what they're doing right now, they're going to be in football games, and you figure they're going to win some of these games down the stretch too. They're going to get better at that. And then the other thing to factor in is we know how how cyclical the NFL is, and teams might be having a tough time adjusting to what Justin is doing right now, but give them a whole offseason and they're going to have a better plan for how to attack this guy. We saw, after Lamar Jackson had his MVP season in 2019, teams started throwing a lot more blitzes at him the next couple of years. And there's that adjustment period that has to be made. And I'm sure that teams are going to do something similar with Justin, because there's a lot of similarities between the way those two guys play the game, Justin Fields and Lamar Jackson. And it's just hard to say what regardless of even who the Bears are going to add to this team over the offseason, how are teams going to attack them, because it's probably going to be different than what it is right now.
I really like that you brought that point, because that was a perfect transition, Sean. I appreciate that, because we had a question in here about Justin Fields' accuracy. His legs are awesome, but he still doesn't pull the trigger on time, and he rarely hits guys in stride. Am I being critical? What do you think, Sean?
No, I don't think you are being critical. It's funny. I asked Chase Claypool last night after the game. I asked him about playing with Justin, and is that I brought up that final play of the game where he made two guys miss and seemed like he was going to make a play before that third guy got the sack. And I just asked Chase, like, what's it like playing with this guy? Like, do you have to have that belief that he's always going to make a play? And he said, yeah, like, your routes are never over. You always got to keep moving, because Justin's holding on to the football a long time, and he's making guys miss back there. And, that's a tough way. That's tough. I mean, a lot of his best throws are in those situations where he's evading pass rushers and seems to have to make a throw, an off-scheduled throw or change his arm angle or whatever. You would like to see some more of hitting those guys in stride. And then there's that too. I mean, you look at some of those, both of the Kmet touchdowns. I mean, he played those perfectly. Those were really nice plays by Justin and by Cole. And certainly there's that too, but you'd like to see it more. And I don't know if it's just, they're still not really throwing the ball that much. I mean, he had 22 pass attempts yesterday. It's not like he's chucking the ball all over the field. So it's relatively a small sample size still.
Yeah, those are some good points. And I'll follow up there with there's two things. You mentioned accuracy and then timing. I want to say, doesn't pull the trigger on time. I'll pull that back up here. He still doesn't pull the trigger on time, and he rarely hits guys in stride. So on the accuracy front, I actually disagree. I think the accuracy is pretty good. I mean, it's improving. Pretty much on a weekly basis, you see the accuracy improving. Like, I'll go back to the game, the final play against Miami, right? Like, where Equanimous St. Brown absolutely dropped that ball, right? Like, that was him changing the arm angle and still delivering an accurate ball. Like, he is putting the ball in places most of the time that are catchable. The thing is, and I think the biggest criticism of Justin Fields is there are still times where he is missing an early read, and it's causing him to hold the ball longer and then kind of have to adjust. So that is still where he needs to improve, I think. That is the biggest thing over the next part of the season is taking that first read, and if that first read isn't there, being able to quickly transition to that second read. So that still is a bit of a work in progress, Sean.
Yeah, I'm also not really concerned about the accuracy. I know, you can analyze any quarterback's deep shots and criticize them for underthrowing, overthrowing. Those are really hard throws in those situations. I love that you brought up the St. Brown play last week against Miami, because that's a really tough throw. He's making some really tough throws, and even though I was saying just a minute ago that a lot of these throws are off schedule and he's running around in the pocket, he's putting the ball where he needs to put it on some of these tosses, and that's impressive and that's promising. I would be more concerned about Yeah, is he reading things correctly? Does he have the timing down? Because you can be really great at running the football and evading those pass rushers, but at a certain point in the fourth quarter, teams are going to make you have to throw the football, and it gets really hard to do that when you're playing that style and when you have to play that style in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, they're gonna have to get more vertical at some point. Part of that is they got to get better along the offensive line. They got to get better at every position on offense.
I do think it hurt that Tevin Jenkins wasn't playing yesterday.
Yeah, that's what I was just actually. Thank you. Not having Tevin Jenkins hurt a bit yesterday.
I mean, he's one of your best linemen, maybe arguably your best, although Cody Whitehurst's pretty solid too on the other side. But Michael Schofield, he's a good veteran. He's been around the block. He knows what he's doing. But Tevin has been really good this year, and it's a bummer that he wasn't able to play yesterday. I was a little bit surprised by that, dealing with that injury. But I expect we'll probably see him coming up this next week.
And this is we're going to get into this later in the week when we preview Bears Falcons. But like this is a matchup where the Bears can get more vertical. Like this Atlanta defense is bad. This is another week. I know Mike B's been in the chat recently with pound the over in our, but yeah, I don't think he had yet today, but this is another example, I think, of pound the over this week, Sean.
Yeah, and you know what? It's going to be inside too, so weather's not going to be an issue, and temperature is not going to be an issue. I think they'll be able to sling the ball around a little bit, and you like to see that. That's exciting to see with Justin in this offense, because obviously they're rolling right now, and yeah, the Bears D. While they had a couple of good moments, I was impressed with Jack Sanborn, just not getting it done.
Pound the over, Mike says. Total is 49. So there you go. All right, guys, we're getting ready to wrap up here as we close in on 50 minutes. If you have any other questions, throw them in the chat. We'll try and get to them before we wrap up. Rick has said, why does Tevin never do media? He didn't do any media on Sunday because he didn't play because he was hurt.
But the guys who don't play don't talk after the game.
I feel like Tevin Jenkins does talk.
Well, Tevin does talk. Tevin's been pretty good this year in person in the locker room. He didn't talk this week because he was on the injury report all week. And if the guys aren't practicing, they won't let us talk to him. So that's all that is.
Let's see. Seeing what we had pop in here. I'm going to pop this on so I'm not just sitting here and didn't an article apologize for saying that if we give Justin Fields a pass for lack of weapons and O-line, polls should get the same with negative cap and no talent. Not sure what the reference was there, Sean. Do you know?
Yeah, I'm not really following that one.
Yeah. If you throw a follow up there, we'll try and hit that. But I think we pretty much have gotten through everything here, Sean. Is there anything that we didn't hit on from this game that you want to quickly close it out with?
No, I'll just say I had a lot of people in the Twitter mentions saying the kicker needs to go. And I'm like, come on, guys. Cairo Santos hasn't missed a field goal all season. He hadn't missed a kick except for in that torrential downpour in week 1. So give the guy a break. I know you don't want to miss extra points, but Cairo Santos has been really good for you the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, something weird was kind of going on yesterday. Like he was out on the field, like looking at the polls. I know the Fox broadcast mentioned that did he have 2 kicks go out of bounds?
He had 1 go out of bounds, and 1 was very, very close. It just got past the pylon for a touchback, but only by about a yard.
Potsy jumping in offset. Ignore the lunatic fringe on Twitter, Sean. There's never been better advice than ignoring pretty much anything on Twitter, Mark. All right. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and get out of here, guys. We appreciate everyone that jumped into the chat today. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We really do appreciate that. And of course, follow us on Twitter at Bears_Insider, at Sean_Hammond, at Kyle Nabors, and go to shawlocal.com. Get yourself a subscription to Shaw Local if you haven't already. It really helps us out. We appreciate everyone who does that. But for now, we're going to go ahead and sign off. Thank you once again to everyone who joined us. For Sean Hammond, I am Kyle Nabors. We will talk to you guys later this week. Thanks.